If you ask me, when your internal clock is already out of whack from traveling halfway around the world, you might as well make the best of it by putting yourself on a schedule that has you getting up early. We woke up at about 6 a.m. and got ready, and were out of the hotel by 7:15. The first order of business was to find a vending machine selling Dr. Pepper for Erin. She used a website created specifically for finding Dr. Pepper in Japan the whole time we were there. In Tokyo, it's not incredibly hard to find, and a vending machine just around the corner from our hotel had some. We walked the neighborhood a bit and saw a few cafes that seemed to have breakfast menus, but decided to play it extra safe on day one and just went to the nearest McDonald's. I didn't notice the self-service kiosks when I walked in, which would have made ordering simpler, but I walked up to the counter and placed our order and didn't have too much trouble communicating. Like most McDonald's in Tokyo, we ordered downstairs and there was a lot of seating upstairs. Erin got a sausage McGriddle. Sydney got a sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle combo. They don't have biscuits in Japan, so I got a bacon egg McSandwich combo with a Coke Zero. The bacon was really soft and much easier to chew than American bacon. Sid and I agreed that the hash browns were better in every way than what we were used to. With our quick breakfast out of the way, we left McDonald's and entered the Suihirocho subway station, which was just outside. As it turned out, we learned that you don't need physical Suica IC cards at all. We simply went to the Apple Wallet on each of our iPhones, added the Suica card, set it to be the default card, and added 1,000 yen each just to try it out. We each held our phones near the IC reader at the gate to get through, then took the subway to Tokyo Skytree. As we left the station, we tapped our phones on the reader again, at which point it subtracted our fares. Simple as that. Tokyo Skytree is the tallest tower in the world, and the third tallest structure of any kind. It's the primary radio and TV broadcast tower in the Kanto region of Japan and has 2 different observation decks. There's also a sprawling shopping mall at its base called Solomachi Tokyo. We arrived at about 8:45 a.m. before anything was open. One of the few complaints you'll hear me make about Tokyo is that places tend to open later and close earlier than I would like. There were lots of nice escalators leading us up towards Skytree itself. We passed a cool-looking Ghibli store and stumbled across a Kirby cafe, which is apparently a big deal that's hard to get into, but I had never even heard of it. We posed for a quick selfie with a mascot statue, then walked past a big temporary Oktoberfest area. I saw a sign advertising schnitzel, which I've always wanted to try, so I planned to stop by later. When we got to the door of Tokyo Skytree, we saw that they opened their doors at 9:30 a.m., with the first observation deck tickets available for 10 a.m. I scanned a QR code and purchased 3 advance tickets on my phone for 10 a.m. Then we explored a bit while we waited. It was actually a bit cloudy and kind of cool on this morning. Promptly at 9:30 a.m., the staff opened the doors and invited us inside to line up. This was the hard part for Erin, as standing is harder on your legs than walking, but she made it through okay. The line eventually split in 2 based on whether or not you bought advance tickets. At the end, we had to scan our QR code at a kiosk and pick up our tickets, then lined up again to have our bags searched before getting on the elevator. The elevator took us to the Tembo deck, which is the lower of the 2 observation decks. Despite being the tallest tower in the world, you can still see almost nothing beyond the sprawl of Tokyo in all directions. Shinjuku, Roppongi, Senso-Ji Temple close by, Tokyo Disney in the far distance towards the bay. The views are pretty spectacular. There are 2 cafes, a restaurant, a gift shop, and several smaller photo ops with mascots and such. Once we'd walked the whole circle and taken in the views, we took the elevator up to the Tembo Galleria, which is 450 meters up, 100 meters higher than the Tembo deck. I thought this elevator ride was more fun, as it had a window on the ceiling as well as a window to the outside. The deck itself is a unique tubular spiral around the tower, with some weird pillowy cushions meant to look like clouds along the windows that had frankly seen better days. Oh yeah, I should mention that they had some sort of collaboration going on with the anime Jujutsu Kaisen, and there were Jujutsu Kaisen characters and photo ops all over the tower, both in the observation decks and outside on the ground floor. I've never seen the show, but I know the final issue of the manga had been published just a week or 2 before our trip. When we were done at the top, we took the elevator back down to the Tembo deck. There are actually 3 floors there, and we had to work our way down to the bottom one to reach the exit elevator. Along the way, there was a gift shop and a place where you could stand on glass and see the city below. Back on the surface, it was now 11 a.m. and the mall and nearby shops were open. We walked through a store called Tree Village Entertainment Shop and picked up a few souvenirs for friends. Now here I want to mention something I don't hear people talk about a lot in regards to Japan. Inside most businesses, it's warm, like uncomfortably warm. I can't speak for the summertime, but in the fall when it's 75 degrees outside, it's often hotter than that inside the buildings. I don't know if it's the tropical environment or if they just haven't spoiled themselves with freezing cold air conditioning the way we do in America, but it was often warm enough to be uncomfortable in malls and department stores. It was about time to get some food, so we headed to the Solomachi Tokyo Mall. We walked past the Oktoberfest area, which was in full swing by now, but unfortunately, I saw that they were sold out of schnitzel, so we kept moving. Inside the labyrinthine mall, we found a floor with lots of interesting restaurants, but we decided to hit up the 6th floor food court instead once we could figure out how to get there. We browsed a lot of interesting shops and eventually ran across a Sylvanian family's pop-up store, which Erin was really excited about, as evidenced by all these photos she took. We also walked past a Pokemon store, but didn't go in. We're geeks, but not really Pokemon geeks. There was a smaller Kirby Cafe store and a pastry shop called Strawberry Mania, which we made a mental note to come back to. We stopped at a small Bic camera store where Erin and Sid picked out new power banks for their phones. Once we got to the right floor for the food court, we quickly realized that that didn't mean we were actually anywhere close to the food court. I can't overstate how sprawling this place is. I decided to scout ahead to make sure we were heading in the right direction and walk past people setting up a Star Wars pop-up shop before finding the food. The food court was superficially a lot like an American mall food court, with shops in a U-shape along the wall and communal seating in the middle. But like a lot of things in Japan, there were several small, smart improvements that made the experience much better. Every restaurant we dealt with gave us a beeper when we placed our order. There were water stations strategically placed around the court so you could wash your hands before you ate and also where you could get complimentary cups of water to drink. After you're done eating, you return your tray, dishes, and trash to the restaurant where you ordered it. Erin grabbed a table while Sid and I checked out our options. From a restaurant called Tori Ichimi, I bought Erin an oyakodon, which literally translates to parent and child bowl and has chicken and eggs over rice, and got myself a seasonal special oyakodon that had mushrooms on top. It was amazing. Sid bought a bowl of curry cutlet udon with a side of tempura fried squid and shrimp. He's been craving that ever since. After lunch, we headed back down to Strawberry Mania for dessert. Erin got some candied strawberries on a stick. Sid got a strawberry mochi with a strawberry on top, and I got a strawberry Mont Blanc, which is a Japanese dessert I've been wanting to try. It's kind of like a mousse that has a chestnut in the middle. We sat outside as we ate. It was all really tasty. On our way back to the station, we stopped at the Studio Ghibli store we'd seen that morning and bought a few souvenirs and gifts. Erin also stepped into a store that had some Barbapapa merchandise, but she didn't pick anything up. Next, we took the subway to Asakusa to visit Senso-Ji, the oldest Buddhist temple in Tokyo, dating all the way back to the year 645. It was a decent walk from the station, and we passed the much smaller Komagataro temple along the way that supposedly enshrines a deity that is the guardian of horses. Senso-Ji was very crowded on this evening, with lots of foreign tourists like us, as well as locals wearing kimonos and taking selfies. After passing through Kaminarimon, the famous Thunder Gate, we walked down the incredibly crowded Nakamise-dori, a tourist trap shopping arcade that dates back to the 12th century and is 820 feet long, featuring over 70 shops. As you might expect, most of the shops sell overpriced trinkets you're better off buying elsewhere, but there are some shops selling delicious treats that are definitely worth buying. Just like I did when I visited here in 2008, I bought a bag of 10 hot, fresh ningyo-yaki. They're small cakes filled with sweet red bean paste, shaped like different animals and objects. They press and cook them in some specialized machinery they have on the spot, so they're still hot when you get them. So good. After passing through the Hozomon, or treasure house gate, Aaron needed to rest a bit, so we found a sitting area. I walked around the temple grounds and filmed the crowd. There's a large censer constantly filled with burning incense by tourists and devotees, and people waft the smoke over themselves for good luck. Sid and I stood on the steps of the temple, and I took this picture back towards the shopping street, recreating a shot I took back in 2008. Working our way back to the station by a different route, we passed through narrow streets filled with stores. I found a little shop with an old man selling his hand-rolled onigiri and bought one with an umeboshi, or pickled plum, inside. The salty and sour flavor isn't for everyone, but I love it. We got back to the hotel at about 4 p.m., and I've got to say, what happened after that is a little fuzzy. I know I got an egg salad sandwich from a Lawson while trying to find a copy of Famitsu Weekly magazine to buy. Sid got a ham, egg, and cheese sandwich and a matcha steamed bun, and Aaron got a meat sauce spaghetti. Jet lag-induced fatigue kicked in, and I was feeling kind of queasy. This is a weird way to end this video, but it's what really happened, and I'm just trying to be honest about our trip, not some travel influencer or whatever. But I've been agoraphobic since I was a kid. I risk a panic attack when I get too far from home, or I'm in a situation where I'm not in control and can't leave if I want to. But I also love to travel. As you can imagine, that's not always a great combination. Well, that night, the jet lag continued to mess with my brain, amplifying my anxieties. The next morning, we had to meet at a hotel in Shinjuku to catch a bus for a tour to Mount Fuji. We had to be there by 8 a.m. or we'd be left behind, and we'd be riding in a bus and touring all day. So as I lay in bed, feeling nauseous and anxious and just a really, really long way from home, while Aaron and Sid slept peacefully, I started to worry about missing our tour. I needed to sleep because we had a long day ahead of us. But I was feeling sick. What if I couldn't make it? Was it going to ruin everything? I worried that if I couldn't sleep, I couldn't go, which made it so I couldn't sleep. I started trying to think up contingency plans. Should I send Aaron and Sid without me? Would they even want to do that? What would I do all day while they were gone? Wouldn't I regret staying behind? But would I regret going even more? Why did I come on this trip? How am I going to make it 2 whole weeks? When my alarm went off at 6 a.m., I hadn't slept a wink.